Okay, well, welcome everybody, and hope your lives are safe. And with all the stuff that's going on in our country and our world right now, we still want to go back and thank those healthcare workers and first responders for all they've done, not only before but continue to do with the pandemic, and that's just very important for us. Um, I've been really pleased with the way our guys came back. And I do think that our medical teams here, uh, Kevin and Bubba, um, and Corey Hollidays and Dwight Holliers and Rick Steinbachers that have worked so hard to make sure that our reentry was safe, have done a great job. Our guys came back in shape. They've worked since Monday. We tested them on Friday from 2 to 4. We asked them to stay away from each other, and they did over the weekend. So we would make sure that they were cleared before Monday so they could start working out together. And they've had really good workouts. We had a staff meeting this morning, and in fact, just got out of it. And Brian Hess told us that he thought the guys were in really good shape. And that's a real credit to them. They've had to be accountable. They've had to be disciplined while they're at home. A lot of them don't even have workout areas, but he's really pleased. And he's working in small groups, and he's working a couple of times a day just to make sure that the guys phase themselves back in to the weight program and to the conditioning program. They've gone back and studied, like the lockout in the NFL, to see what the issues were when guys didn't work out for a while, and then they just came and worked out. And they saw some torn Achilles. They saw some soft muscle issues, tears. So they're all over it. And Luke Ross and Brian Hess and their teams, their staffs, are doing a great job with the young people. And we'll have another group come in tomorrow from 2 to 4 in the indoor area. So the phasing in is working, and it's working really well. Secondly, our coaches are in the office 3 days a week. So we're working from home on Monday. We're working from home on Friday. But on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we're coming in and having meetings and working on making sure that we're good with our social distancing in every meeting room. We're making sure that our protocol with our guidelines with our masks when we need to wear them, when we're not. So we're learning. We're learning how to stay safe. And the first group of players that have come in are going to be the ones that teach the next group how to make sure that they go by the guidelines. So they gave us, the NCAA Oversight Committee yesterday gave us a 6-week reentry plan, which starts the middle of July. We requested that we could have some start a little earlier with our practice, since our school started on the 10th instead of the 18th. We actually, it's tougher for us to have preseason because we'll be in class during the preseason when normally we're not, and we were denied. So they're not going to allow us to have an earlier start. And basically, I think it's because they felt like our university made the decision to move till the 10th. So we have to live with those consequences. But right now, all of our meetings with our players are still on Zoom. Even if they're in the building, they can go sit in their meeting room, but the coach has to be in his office, and he can Zoom with them, which I don't understand. I wish we could sit down and meet with the kids, because I think it would be better to have football meetings in person and get to see them and talk to them. And they can come up and meet with us, but they can't talk about football with us. So I look forward to the day that we can have our meetings in person. I look forward to the day that we can have our walkthroughs, because right now they've got voluntary workouts and they've got their player-led practices, and that's what we're doing. But I really feel like that our first week has been a huge success. And if you had asked me last week what I wanted to for this to be like after a week, it couldn't have been any better for us. Everything's been great. Questions?
All right, gang, go ahead and open up your participants window and throw up your hand if you have a question. We'll start off with Andrew Jones. Andrew, let me unmute you here. Go ahead.
Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Now that the Division I Council went ahead and approved what they did yesterday, how much easier is that for you to communicate exactly to the kids what they can expect between now and when you guys go down to Orlando?
I think it'll be great to communicate, Andrew. The fact that the NCAA has given us a guideline, they've given us a roadmap. There's no playbook for all the things we've been going through for the last 3 months. This really helps us because we can sit down with each player and show them exactly when this is going to happen, what you've got to be ready for when we go to this phase and then this phase and move forward. So, and I'm excited that the NCAA did it early enough that now all the universities, even the universities teams that haven't brought their teams back yet, they have a plan. So this gives us an opportunity to talk to kids about what we're doing. We were on for an hour last night with the kids that are coming in tomorrow. And this helps us when we can tell them you're going to work with Coach Hess till this point, and then you'll start being able to work with your coaches. And very honestly, we've had more meeting time with kids this spring because we had no spring recruiting on the road. So we've met with them so much more than we normally would. We've had so many speakers that there's not as much we need to teach them right now. We need to get on the field with them. We need them to be healthy and in great shape. And that's really our next big step.
And as a follow-up, given all the different scenarios that I'm sure you've bandied about in your mind the last several months, how much of it is a relief is it for you personally to know, okay, this is what you guys are looking at?
It's a real relief because coaches are creatures of habit, and we're creatures of a plan and a direction. And it's hard to have that when you've got very few answers. And even when we would meet with Bubba or Kevin, they'd say, well, I can't answer that yet. Well, I can't answer that. Well, I can't answer that. And they couldn't because they didn't have answers. We didn't even know that we'd have football. We didn't know, would it be in the spring? Would it be in the fall? Would we cancel the non-conference games? There were so many questions that were unanswered. And now we're starting to get more answers. There's still unanswered questions, but at least we have a plan till we can get to that next question. And that's what's helping us so much right now.
Thank you, Andrew. We'll go to Jonathan Alexander.
Sorry, my video. Oh, hold on one second. Sorry.
Coach, do we have a rule that if you don't have your video up, there we go.
I'm sorry about that.
Jonathan, we want to see you, man.
I'm sorry about that. Have you, Matt, I hope you're doing well, first of all. Have you had any concerns from any parents or players about, I guess, the possibility of playing in coronavirus? And if you haven't, and if those concerns do come up, how might you address them in the future? Like, say, if a player just so happens that doesn't want to play or anything like that.
Jonathan, number one, we have not had any concerns from players or parents. What we've done, I feel like, has been really good is that we've had our doctors talk to our parents without the players on and without the coaches on. And we had some staff members about reentry, but they met with our parents for an hour without us being there, so the parents would feel free to ask questions and not feel like that we as coaches would be scrutinizing who was nervous and who wasn't nervous. And we've talked to all the players, and we've told the players that it's going to be safe as long as you do what you're supposed to do, but we've got to go by the guidelines. That's part of the new leadership and discipline of football teams across the country. You got to do what they tell us to do to be safe, and if you do, they say we'll be safe. And then we met with the team, with the doctors as well. So we've tried really, really hard to tell any of our players, talk to us. If you're nervous about it, talk to us. And opposite from that, they were so excited to get back that we've got to make sure that with them being back, when we're not around, that there's still social distancing, because if someone gets the virus on your team and they have been in contact against the guidelines. They've broken the social distancing rules. They haven't worn their mask. Then they're going to be quarantined like the player that's got the virus because of social tracing and the fact that when they're tracing to see who's been too close, they're going to be involved too. So we've told the players it's not only for your protection, but if you want to play, even if you don't have the virus and you've been too close to someone who does, then you could be quarantined, and that'll all be done by the medical staff. So, but it's been very interesting. I haven't had a coach say that he really doesn't feel comfortable. We've got what we call an essential staff that needs to be in the office, and all of them have been tested, and they're working in the office Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We have a group that we do not feel like they have to be in the office right now, and we've asked them to work from home, so they haven't even been tested. So I really like what we're doing. It's working. And to answer your question, not one parent, not one player, not one staff member has shown concern about coming back. And I guess the other part of it, Jonathan, I'm sorry, what would we do if they did? I don't know. That would be up to Bubba, but they wouldn't have to play. It's going to be different this year in so many ways, but if a player doesn't feel good, he simply tells our trainers, I don't feel good, and he doesn't come. So it's going to be different. So if somebody wants to get out, they can say, I don't feel good. They don't have to be tested. They can say, I've got symptoms. They don't have to come see the trainer. If they say, I do not feel good, they will be left at home, and they'll have somebody checking on them.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jonathan.
All right, we'll go to Gregory Hall. Gregory, where you at?
I'm right here. Hey,
Yeah,
Matt.
go ahead.
This time last year, you didn't really know who was going to be your starting quarterback. Chaz hadn't played a game of linebacker yet, and now both of those guys are kind of thrust into the national spotlight and have all these expectations. And I was just kind of wondering how you're tailoring those expectations for them and also your team in general, because last year it was just win game by game. And now obviously those goals have changed after one season.
Greg, we have a lot more answers than we did this time last year. Obviously, neither of our linebackers had ever played in a game when we played against South Carolina as a linebacker, Jeremiah Gemmel or Chaz Surratt. And we didn't know whether Chaz could play linebacker or not. We didn't know about instincts. We didn't get to see that much in the spring, and it was all new for him. And this time last year, we had three quarterbacks, two that had been here and Sam that was coming in. And we honestly didn't know which one would start at quarterback at this time because summer meant so much. And spring, we decided in spring to let them just play and let them learn the offense. And let's let them compete in the summer and preseason. And now we're not softening those expectations whatsoever. I think we'll be better on offense this year than we were last year. We've got every starter back except Charlie Heck, so our protection should be better. Coach Searles and Coach Longo will be more on the same page in their second year. Coach Gillespie as well. So most of our staff's back. And I feel like that Sam will have less pressure because he'll have some experienced guys behind him that could come in and play. We can run him more often because last year we couldn't run him at all, and that'll help with the pass rush, and that'll help him be loose and be able to play. And I think that he works so hard and he puts so much pressure on himself that he feels like he made some poor decisions in the passing game last year that he'll do a better job with this year. So, and Mel Kiper's already picking Chaz as his second linebacker in the upcoming draft. So we expect them both to be leaders. We're challenging them to blow the ceiling off of their standards and be the best player that they can possibly be. But we're not holding back at all with them. We're telling them we need them. to more than live up to the expectations that not only we have, but the public has.
So as a team, you guys have discussed some of those preseason accolades or not? Or is it just kind of something that you let them see and they know they're out there, they're out there, and you just expect them to be great?
Yeah, I actually jumped Jeremy the other day and I said, why aren't you pushing our guys? And why aren't they getting any preseason accolades? And he said, they are. You haven't been watching. So we do not discuss that at all. We just discuss you being the best player you can be. That's Jeremy's job to take care of all the awards and get you involved like you need to. But as a team, we just want you to win games.
Thank you.
I'm told, Todd, did you have a question you wanted to ask Todd Gibson? Let's get you unmuted here.
Yeah, Todd's been holding his hand up for 20 minutes, Jeremy, and you've been ignoring him. So, yes, he's
what are you going to do?
Todd, you still need to be unmuted.
Yeah, I can't get you unmuted for some reason, Todd. You can press it.
Todd, he didn't look at you, and now he won't unmute you. So I'm not something there, Todd.
I just unmuted myself. Is that okay? You got me now, Coach?
We got it.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Coach, the believe it or not, the 2022 mock NFL draft is out, and look who's thought to be number one, Sam Howell. How does that help your program? And is Sam somebody that I guess he would look at that and he'd be okay with that, and that wouldn't affect him at all, would it? He just seems to be a down-to-earth type guy.
No, Sam has really got a cool personality, and he's a level head, but he really competes. It's very interesting to watch him. And I asked him on Valentine's Day, you got a date? You going out? What are you doing? And he says, yes, sir. He said, I got a date with Madden. I'm going to be playing Madden football. She likes me. She's not very expensive. I can enjoy it. I don't have to talk too much. But that's going to be my Valentine's Day. And that's Sam. He's got strong faith. He's a tremendous student. He's already over a 3.0 in his freshman year. But he works so hard. And his hobby is football. And that's it. He's up here working every day. So he will not worry about what anybody says. He will not. We asked about the Heisman. He said, everybody like to win the Heisman. I got to play good. That's what I've got to worry about. Bubba talked to our team about name, image, and likeness. And Sam raised his hand after Bubba talked about there are no guidelines right now. What does this mean? And what are the possibilities for name, image, and likeness for not only a football team, but an athletics department? Sam stood up at the end in our meeting and said, I don't want this to be about one or two players that may get more money on the team than everybody else. That's not good for the locker room. That's not good for our team. We need to have name, image, and likeness that everybody on the team can reap rewards from. And that's just Sam. He's the ultimate team guy.
Good. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. I get more impressed with Sam Howell every day that I see him. He's been fun to watch.
Coach.
Josh Graham, if you can unmute, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Good to see you. Thank you so much for doing this. I got something football related and then something a little less serious. So I'll start with this. It's been well documented how well you guys have been doing recruiting in the state of North Carolina since you've returned, particularly in Western Carolina, but even in the East as well. How much has the growth of the city, Charlotte and Raleigh specifically, always appearing on the top 10 fastest growing cities in America, impacted, you think, the talent level that's in this state?
Josh, it's really impacted the talent level in the state because the more people you have, the more opportunities you have to look at recruits. High school football coaches are doing a tremendous job in this state. We continue to want to elevate high school football in the state of North Carolina. But I think the biggest difference right now in when we were here before and now is the number of prospects. There were good players, a lot of good players in this state before, but now, well, there's prospects all over the place, and you can't take them all. And there's a lot of good players that will play against us that we can't take. But I'm really excited for the high school coaches in this state, and the young student athletes in this state that are playing football, because there's some really good players, and it's bringing a lot of attention to our state. And our guys are killing it in recruiting. I like what they're doing. They've got a familiarity with the state. There's such an upside right now with our program and so much momentum. It's been a cool place to be for a year or so. So I really like what we're doing, and I like the kids we're recruiting too. They want to be here, and they're excited about being here, and they're making strong decisions, and they're good students. So I'm really excited about the future.
And secondly, I'm not sure if you saw this morning, but the Belk Bowl's been replaced as the Duke's Mayo Bowl now. You're a Southern guy, Mack. I got to know, are you a Mayo fan?
It's sad that I keep fighting my weight all the time. I'm a food fan, so yes, just about everything that's out there I like to eat.
Sorry, Coach, I didn't prep you for the Mayo question.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for that.
We've got Inside Carolina, which I think is Ross. Ross, go ahead and unmute yourself. There we go.
Hey, Coach, just a quick question here. I saw that you had a COVID test done. Can you kind of describe what that was like, how it felt, the emotions, to take us through that?
Yes, Ross, it was interesting. Sally had a hip procedure done a couple of weeks before, so she had it done. And she came back and talked to me about it. And the players were asking, the coaches were asking, and it took about 20 seconds, I would say, maybe 10. They took a swab and put it up in your nose and pressed it back some. And I actually felt like I was going to sneeze, because it wasn't a weird feeling. It wasn't painful. It was uncomfortable. And then they take it out and say, thanks, goodbye. So it's a very short test. It's not very long. And I think they're doing a better job now than when they started with making it less painful.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, but I would if we need to do it every week, it is not a problem. It's not uncomfortable enough. It's very quick. I'm sure our results came back. We all had it. The staff had it Friday morning from 9 to 11. The incoming players with phase 1 had it from 2 to 4. Some of the test results were back on Sunday. All of them were back by Monday morning. So they're getting them back a little more quickly as well.
Thanks, Ross. Greg Barnes, we'll go to you. Sorry, go ahead and unmute. There you go.
Hey, Mack. In previous conversations, you've talked about kind of adapting to the new normal. I'm curious, the past week, now that you've got coaches and players back, what are some of the surprises that you've encountered? What are some of maybe the unexpected challenges that you've discovered here in this first week or so?
One of the things, Greg, is the education on COVID and the guidelines for the players. And we're having to, some people take it very seriously. Some say, I'm fine. It's not that big a deal. So it started with our staff. If I see a guy in a position where he doesn't have a mask on, it's my responsibility with a player or coach to say, put your mask on. I mean, this is in that guideline. And the second part of that is honor your differences. If Javon DeWitt is more susceptible because of his cancer last year to getting COVID, and you don't want to wear your mask in the hallway, and you see Javon, put it on for him. Don't put it on for you. Same thing with players. And that's where the tracing really helps with the players. But the players they want to see each other. They haven't seen each other for a while. They're back. They want to hug each other. They want to stand and talk. So we're really having to do a good job of educating them. If you're not worried about getting the virus, then tracing is going to keep you from playing. So you're going to have to go by these guidelines regardless. And I think that's the biggest thing. The second part, and everybody's probably working with this, that has to wear a mask, It's finding the right mask. Can you use a shield? What's comfortable? How can you talk? How do you have a team meeting? Do you have to have it outside now? Do you have to be in the indoor area and have them sit down 6 feet apart to talk to them? Because we can't get all of our players in the Swofford Auditorium for our team meetings and still social distance. Where like our defense is moved down, and they're in the defensive back room, the defensive staff. They didn't have enough room for theirs upstairs. The offensive line moved to the Swofford Center, so they'll have more room. The receivers have moved to the offensive line room. So we're just having to adjust things. We've got the first phase of players dressed in our locker room. The second phase that's coming in tomorrow, they will dress in the lacrosse locker room. And then the third phase will be somewhere else. The fourth phase will be somewhere else. And then at some point, we feel like, Greg, we can build a bubble around our team and ask them to be really, really careful and not get the virus from someone outside our bubble that would bring the virus in. And then that's when the doctors, I feel like, think we can be in the dressing room together. We can be in the, you can take a shower, you can have your meetings as long as you still social distance. They're also asking us not to stand next to anyone without social distancing for more than 15 minutes. And they feel like that's huge, and that makes a difference. So if we're having an hour meeting in the room, we all have to have a certain number of people there that are socially distancing, but we have to wear a mask. Out on the practice field, will the coaches wear masks? Players will not wear them when they work out. They will not wear them when they practice, obviously. We haven't decided yet or been told whether the coaches will wear them or not. So I think more than anything else, Greg, it's learning and asking questions. And like on the bench during the games, you can't sit your offensive line right next to each other for more than 15 minutes again. So what are you going to do? You're going to have benches that are spread out. They're trying to get the coaches box extended the full length of the field so players can spread out more. So we're looking at how to stand on the sideline. Where do you stand more than 15 minutes? You can't stand next to each other. We're looking at coaches who stands next to Longo or Bateman while they're calling their defenses, and how close can you be? So there's so many things. We're looking at special teams practices. How do you set it up? We're looking at where the players stand while a team is out there, because we'll make all of our periods like 12 minutes now or 10 minutes now. They won't be 15 because they don't want you standing next to each other for 15. So we'll start working more in 10-minute segments than we would have 15 or 20 or 30. And we'll have to change up a lot more. But will we need to practice your ones and your fours and your twos and your threes at different times, because you don't want guys to be around each other too much early until we learn exactly how to do this. So those are things we're dealing with right now. Every day, something new comes up, and we're educating each other, but we're honoring each other's differences, but we're asking each other questions. And we had Todd Berry come on with our staff the other day and talk to us about the 6-week reentry and what he sees as possible issues that come up. So we're more than anything else right now, we've over-met with the players because of spring. So they've had enough meetings. We need some time on the field. We need some time with them individually to just talk to them and get to know them and make sure their discipline's back. Our GPA was over a 3.1 for spring semester. So they really did a good job during a very difficult time of handling that change and handling online classes. And so we're talking about discipline. We're talking about inner leadership. But as a staff, we're talking about how do we practice? When they allow us to start having walkthroughs, what does that mean? Should you still have some Zoom meetings? If it's obviously a lot safer to have a Zoom meeting than it is sitting in a room with young people for an hour, can you get as much out of your Zoom meeting? Is a walkthrough better than a meeting? So when you can have your meetings and your walkthrough when we get back to start fall, is it better to only have walkthroughs and not go sit down in a meeting anymore? So there's just so many things like that we're answering, because it's never happened before, and it's really uncharted waters. So that's what we're needing to do. The young guys had a player-led practice the other day, and one of them said, I said, how'd it go? And he said, not very good, because nobody knew how to social distance and play. And I said, well, when it's time to cover, you can cover, just don't cover more than 15 minutes. If you can cover a guy for 15 minutes at a time. But all of those things are things that we're all trying to do what's right. We're trying to be safe, but we're trying to get our questions answered.
Thanks.
All right, gang, we got Sam on. So Jonathan, unless your question is unbelievably important for Coach Brown,
Well, it always is.
I'd like to transition to Sam. So
I
we
mean,
can
I
utilize
think
his.
it is. I think it is.
Go ahead.
I just wonder, you know, I guess we're in unprecedented times, and you know, there's a lot of discussion about, you know, how around racism, and a lot of players are speaking out. Sam, who's on, you know, he made a fine comment on Twitter. You know, De'Ami Brown put out a comment on Twitter. I'm wondering how, Mack, how have you had to address these conversations with your team, and how might the conversations continue moving forward?
Jonathan, we've always been very direct and very fair with our team, and we've always said there would never be an elephant in the room. So we discuss it. We've talked about it. It's harder to have team discussions, in my estimation, on Zoom than it is if you're face to face. You want to see reactions. You want them to ask you questions. So the other day we met with the leadership committee, and we went through the issues that were on our campus and how the campus is handling them. And I appreciate the way this campus is stepping up and handling them. We told the guys, talk to us. I'm white. I don't know how you feel if you're black, and you need to tell me. And our dressing room is not an issue. It's a melting pot. Our dressing room is safe and it's fun. And if the United States and the country was run like our dressing room, we wouldn't have any of these problems, because we're fair, we're consistent, and we always try to do what we know is the right thing to do. And nobody ever even talks about race. Where I think I can do a better job, and Sally can do a better job, and our staff can do a better job, is asking questions to our black players. What can we do to help? What do you need? What helps you 5 years from now? What helps your children? That because what we're seeing, the injustice we're seeing, is awful, and obviously that's got to change and stop. But what can we do? Is it changing the name of a building? I've never looked at the name of a building when I walked in it. I wouldn't have any clue. But if it's a racist person the building was named after, or there's racism in his past, and it bothers you walking in that building, you need to tell me, because I don't know any of the names of the buildings. Never looked, never even thought about it. But if it's uncomfortable for you, talk to us and tell us. Or is there something we can do more? Because I've already talked to them about certain personnel things with the department that I would like to get for us that'll be better. I've talked to them about I want to do a better job for us. We do a great job of getting our guys jobs when we get out. We can do a better job. I want to have the best program in the country, so when our guys get out, they got 5 interviews set up. They get through Pro Bowl, they got 5 interviews set up. Those are things we can do to help. I want them to feel comfortable if they're out in the community. I had a friend tell me one time, I'm not letting my son get his driver's license because I'm afraid that if he drives, he'll be pulled over and he'll be stopped. And I'm afraid he might get shot. And at that time, and that was 15 years ago, probably, maybe 10, I thought, come on, man, don't be that way. He wants to drive, let him drive. And now after the recent things that I've seen, it hit me that I understand now what he was talking about. My job is to listen, respond and react, and try to help be part of the change for the positive, and not just worry about what happens in the confines of our team. And that's what I've always done. I've tried to do right. I've tried to speak out, but this change is bigger than a football locker room or a football team. And I need to be part of that because I really believe it.